Welcome everyone to Obsessed by Swish. Second episode, we were just saying. I think Kyle in
Yay.
LA is going to be cooking up some episodes soon, but newsletter, dinner series, podcast, so please tune in. But thank you all for being here. My name is Aiden Swan, account executive at Swish. Stoked to be here, and we're here to talk about something that I think is at the core of any brand these days, which is experiential. And there's no better person to have this conversation with. You know, she's worked across artist management, theater, fashion, content creator, little influencer
Yeah.
side I was just talking about, brand marketing, and has produced events, celebrity activations with some of the biggest names in entertainment. And she's now senior events and brand manager at Macy. So please welcome Cara Weaver. Cara, thank you so much for being here today.
Awesome. Thank you. So excited to be here. This is really exciting and such a cool, I think, thing to do.
I mean, we're figuring it out as we go. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's awesome to have you. Would love to start with just a little bit of a introduction, some background. Like I mentioned, you've worked across all these different, verticals. A lot of them very different. I'm wondering what made
Mhm.
you pursue all those. What kind of got you into the experiential side and,
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah. So always been creative, always like, I think, so I grew up in Wyoming, so small town girl, but always like loved fashion, always loved music, theater, was just like into that. I felt like like Wyoming was just too small. There's nothing happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would like walk into school wearing the craziest stuff, like fashion wise, and my teachers would be like so mad at me. So I always knew like I wanted to like do more and like get out of, small town. So again, I did theater, so I went and got my bachelor's in theater education, where worked with a lot of like nonprofits, got my kind of interest in more like children's nonprofits, getting children into the arts, which I think is a big thing that's so important in the industry, no matter where we're at. Then I went to Chicago and got my master's in business and entertainment at Columbia, Chicago. And that was where I really I think caught the bug. Like my goal with, I think my career was to how can I like stay creative but like be in business. So within this like masters, I, studied the music industry, studied events, studied nonprofit, like that part of the industry. So it was like every little piece of the industry, and I was like, "Oh, I like events, I like music, I like entertainment, like that's where I really want to be." So that's like really where I caught the bug, I think. Like getting my master's, but I don't think you always think about that. There is like an actual industry for this, right? Like that master's degree was never spoken about
Mm-hmm.
ever. So when I figured it out, I'm like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it really feels like the culmination of music, fashion, brand partnerships, events. I'm glad that it kind of all, it seems like this beautiful story where you're like, you're working in music, you're working in fashion,
Mhm.
content creation, all this stuff, and then it's brought together by experiential marketing, because that really is the intersection of kind of everything in entertainment. And obviously you work with,
Yeah.
celebrities, influencers,
Mhm.
basically every single brand. If your goal is to grow and be integrated in culture at all, experiential is going to be a big part of what you do.
Yeah. And I think, this was 2018, 2019, and a big conversation was always like, what's innovative? And I think the big thing was like experiential, like marketing, and it was events. It was like giving that people the experience. And like from a like strategy perspective, I thought that was like so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, this is definitely like what I'm looking at,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. Do you remember, I'm very curious if you remember your first activation once you got into the experiential side, if it was successful, how it went, like what you took from that.
Yeah.
Not to put you on the spot, but
No.
it's just so interesting. I mean, now you're crushing it. You're working with like some of the biggest brands, Ralph Lauren, all these
Yeah.
brands under Macy's, celebrities, but obviously I'm sure it started on the smaller scale, and so I'm wondering if you
Yeah.
remember back to that beginning.
Totally. On a smaller scale, I really started my events like career with musicians. So we would like in Chicago, we would do these kind of like showcases where we would, somehow get like sponsors and like get brands involved and get artists involved and then have a venue and just do a night of like music and a night. And it would be like, I think the cool thing about Chicago, it's such like a creative hub of young people that it's the perfect place to like start something.
Mm-hmm.
So even like now, I don't know if I see success as like, well, now it's, you know, I work for a big company, so it's like KPIs, sales, like all this stuff that you're like, duh, that is success. But to me, it's like planning something for so long, going through all the hurdles, going through all these things, and then you see it come to life, and that's like success. And you see people, I like love reactions.
Yeah.
So even now, like I'm like seeing people react to my events or like the things that I produce is like so exciting. And I think that comes back from like the very beginning of those like showcases and concerts, that like people like their reactions and like the love they have for the music, and like this is so fun, like this is something they'll like write on Instagram about it, like remember. So that is like success to me.
Definitely. And it's also so cool to work in it. That's why I'm passionate about working in live events is, you know, you have budgeting, you have planning, all these different comms, partnerships that is just, you know, it's just on paper, and to see it come to life, see it, you know, not only be profitable for the business, but to bring people together and just see people connect over something that you helped build, I think is super cool.
Yeah.
Any favorite, what's the music taste these days? Any like favorite artists you're listening to?
Anyone
like, you've worked with? You got I feel like you gotta like, you know, curate the events. Whoever your favorite artist is, you gotta kind of finesse it and be like, guys, I think this would be a great fit for the brand. We gotta bring them in. I just care so much about the activation. You know, we gotta bring them in.
Oh my gosh, I wish I had that. I think I could. Once I start working with brands multiple times, it would be like, you guys, I've actually did this a little bit with, I just did an event with Perry Ellis, and they're doing a lot of athletes. And this isn't music related, but I was like, hey, you guys should consider like actors. Like that actor that just played in Love Story, he played like JFK.
Yeah.
Junior, and he was like, you know, he's so, he's like the heartthrob. I was like, if this guy was on Perry Ellis, like if he's he should be your next campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Like that will get, because the girls are going to go crazy.
Yeah.
Even though it's a men's brand, that kind of thing. On the artist level, I'm such like an R&B girl. I love R&B. I'm a chill vibe. So, I mean, I worked with Usher. That was like crazy. That's probably like my top event, just because you're like, Usher is so like, like he's been around.
If you're talking about live events, Usher's like the GOAT, might be the GOAT live performer.
Yes, like he is. So doing an event with Usher was like top tier. But I think like even Olivia Dean, like getting her in
she's killing it right now.
And she is like, I mean, she is the face of like some major designers. So we'll see. I think, you know, I kind of put some little words in there when I talk to these brands. So
I think that's like, these brand ambassadors are also a big signal that people want to connect with other people. I think you can have all the brand loyalty in the world, you can have the best product, but I think that people are going to connect. You know, people are going to be more of a diehard fan of Olivia Dean than, you know, this new jacket that came out, as great as it may be, as historic as the brand may be. So I think that's why we're seeing this move towards, you know, associating brands with creators and influencers, celebrities, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting. I mean, it's something that's always.
That's just my perspective, by the way.
It's true.
You definitely would know more on that side, but I think that people crave that connection with someone. Exactly.
I feel like it is, like we were talking about this a little bit before, but just like why brands choose who they want to choose as the celebrity ambassador. And I think it is like the person, you see that person and you kind of want to embody that. So whether it's like the fragrance you're wearing or the way they wear the clothes, like it's exciting that they see this person like represent this brand. And I think that's what it's about. A lot of my events are meet and greets or panels. It's all customer facing. So it's bringing that customer inside to see this, you know, person. And you're right. Like it might be luggage that the person's selling, but like, you know, with Millie Bobby Brown,
it's a whole nother game. You know, you're selling Millie Bobby Brown. People are gonna gravitate towards that for sure.
People are wearing Stranger Things shirts to, you know, this event, but they still bought a piece of luggage for it, which you love.
That's the end goal. So we were just talking about this before. I think it's so unique. A lot of people who, you know, producers, people working in events in-house at brands, they get to plan events for that specific brand here and there. What's such a cool opportunity is that you're overseeing the portfolio of brands within Macy's, working with, you know, Ralph Lauren, Calvin Klein. Talk to me a little bit about that and how that kind of changes your approach, having these kind of diverse range of brands that you're working with.
Yeah. So I usually take about 3 months to plan each of my events. And I tell people that like after that 3 months, it's kind of like I start completely over. So it's like, some jobs you go in every day, you're working on something, and then it's kind of the same. I would say my job is different every 3 or 4 months because that brand, especially like a Ralph Lauren, they're a heritage brand. Like they've been around forever. So their brand guidelines and like what they want to see is so different than like, a YSL.
That's interesting as well because you're not only working across different brands, but Nike has a completely different audience than YSL.
Exactly.
More on the luxury side. So you gotta wear multiple hats and I assume that you're working on multiple events at a time, probably several.
Yeah.
And so it's very interesting to make those connections and context switch across events that are targeted towards different demographics. Is that challenging ever?
Challenging, I wouldn't say like use that word necessarily, but I would say it just takes some like I said, reset. So like after each meeting, like I almost separate my day in parts where I'm like, I'm gonna work on this event in the morning and then this event in the afternoon. So I can just like reset between knowing that I'm working on these different things. I think also with these is there's very specific, like a lot of my events are either collections with the celebrities or specific campaigns. So for Ralph Lauren, for example, Shaun White is a friend to the brand. They did this great collection for the 2026 Olympics. It was awesome. I'm actually like so wish I got a, sweatshirt or sweater. They were so cute. They had the little polo bear like holding skis and it said like 26. So that specific event was geared towards the 2026 Olympics. So that any of the event renderings we were doing were like Olympics and Ralph Lauren, and then you can co-brand the Macy's in it. I think the nice thing about Macy's is like since we host and have all of these brands, it's easy to just co-brand everything. Like Macy's looks so nice in between all the other branding in the event.
It's the connector,
It's an easy thing. Like luckily, I think with our brand, we are that just destination. I think people are going to see Macy's. They know, like, oh, this is where you have everything fragrance. Of course, you're going to go to Macy's Herald Square and see something crazy because it's like this huge, store. So I feel like it's just easy to, put the Macy's in there, and then I can strictly focus on these other brands. And like I talk to their VPs, I talk to like so many people in their marketing that I really start to understand like what they're looking for. But it's also a questions game. You're always asking. Like you're kind of like, they don't always know what they want, so you have to like bring it out of them.
I love that it's a destination. That really stuck with me because on the planning side, it's very interesting that you're working with across brands with different demographics. But in terms of Macy's and the people that are coming, who that's a destination for, you have all these different groups of people from different walks of life because there's everything there for anyone. And I think that's a really beautiful thing working as a brand that brings together so many different cultures. So I think that's really cool. And to your brand, to the Olympics point, everyone was talking about that. And I remember specifically in 2024, the Ralph Lauren campaign where opening ceremonies on a boat in Paris, all of Team USA is wearing these Ralph Lauren fits with these blue jackets. And then you have Coco Gauff and LeBron James in the white jackets. I can't think of a bigger stage for a brand than opening ceremonies of the Olympics, Team USA in Paris. Talk to me a little bit about, what you think, how you think brands are showing up in moments like that, like the Olympics and culturally significant events.
I mean, that was so smart because like you even saw that, you're seeing that, and then they kept it going because you saw it in the Winter Olympics. But like even all the news anchors were wearing it. Like every single person, I think, attached to like the USA was wearing Ralph Lauren. So not only is it like you almost just, it's to train the mind. You see the USA, but then you see a Ralph Lauren. So it's like one of the smartest, I think, marketing and branding on their end. I feel like you just, it's so funny like when you're really in it because you start to see little things. You'll be like watching a movie and you'll be like, that was the weirdest like why do I see a Tesla like 5 times?
Oh no, I'm sure that you can't look at anything the same. You're always looking from the brand's point of view.
Yes, I think, and you know, working with like a brand like Macy's, where we have so many brands inside the store, you're watching like how we build our branding, because it's not only like Macy's the destination of this, but then how do you like connect all the other brands in it, which I think is interesting too. And like, you know, I feel like there's so much, you know, you were talking about like music festivals and stuff. Like if you really pay attention when you're there, like who's sponsoring what, like how you notice like the only, you know, soda you're drinking is Pepsi or Coke or whatever. So it's like the brand is just always there. And it's those big sponsorships that I think matter and make a difference.
Absolutely. No, we were just talking before this that we were at Coachella for the first time, had a few activations there, and really noticed that it's almost like music takes a backseat and it's all about the brands there. You have people going from the Sahara stage, the main stage, into this Coca-Cola activation, into Heineken House, and not just engaging with the brand, but just chilling there, having a drink there for a few hours with friends. It's almost just synonymous with the Coachella and festival experience. You know, now people view going to a brand event the same as they do going to see Justin Bieber live, and then you walk out of there viewing that brand as, you know, the greatest. Drinking a Heineken seems like the greatest thing in the world when you leave, you know, a 4-hour DJ set there with all your friends and a sunset. It's just really interesting how all these, you know, we were talking about South by Southwest as well. It is becoming less and less about the film festival, NBA All-Star Game, less about, you know, the actual athletic competition, but more about how brands show up there.
Yeah, and I feel like with something like Coachella, it's such a photo, Instagrammable moment. So the brands are thinking about that too. Like within that activation, where can I take photos, and like where can the customer take photos, and then they're going to post that, and it's just going to be forever evolving. So even if you're not there, you might see someone take a really cool photo in front of this thing, and then you're like, oh, what was that activation? And someone's Googling and looking, you know, at the brand. So it all connects. Like, I think that's the biggest, like, that's a really big thing too, because when you're thinking about like producing something like that, you're thinking, okay, is this going to be a good photo? Like, can someone take a picture of this? Is there branding behind them? So I'm sure if you looked up like Heineken Coachella, it would just come up on Instagram with like all these, you know,
everywhere.
Great photos.
Yeah.
So that's another smart thing I think brands are doing.
No, I agree. It was really an interesting and special experience to see people engaging with the brands there as much as the artists. I'm curious, you know, as you plan events, you're managing expectations from stakeholders, from the brand, from your clients, and also you have this deadline that you need to meet and make sure you get everything across the line. But then you also have accomplished everything you have for a reason. You have a creative vision and are very talented. So I'm wondering how you strike that balance between meeting people's expectations, making sure a project goes over the line, but also not sacrificing, you know, your creative integrity.
Yeah. Events is like so go with the flow in a way, but in a way it's like the organization. Like if you are not organized, you will flounder in like the craziest, it's like an ocean. You're like, you want to like, you know, go with the waves, but then if you like, you know, miss a deadline or something, then things start to tumble.
Yeah.
And like now you're drowning. So I think there's a very fine line there. I am all about timelines and like time management. I think that's a huge thing. Even though I've done like so many events at this point and I kind of love like a structure, a foundation for especially like events within this job. I keep that there, and for every event I build a timeline. So I keep week to week, I know exactly what I'm doing. Of course, I know that things come up and things, you know, flow, but it gives me like that foundation. When I have that foundation, I can then communicate correctly with our, you know, stakeholders and be like, this is like, you know, let them know these are the deadlines. This is what you need to do. Like, and tell them nicely to do things, but also be like, because I care about your feedback and I want your alignment. So it's relationships, time management, and a little bit of like going with the flow. But I think the relationships you build from the beginning, if you're like listening, easy to work with, you're almost like you're a partner to them. because you're building this thing for them. It's their vision, it's their money. So that's how you can kind of also put in little creative moments too. And they start to kind of be like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. It's all about like trusting too. I feel like brands have to trust you. And once they do, and they start to see things come together, they, you know, feel better.
Yeah. I mean, you always have those, like, I'm sure, helicopter clients that want to be very involved. Yeah. But at the same time, they're trusting you. Mm-hmm. They're, you know, going to you for a reason, want to see you, you know, pursue this avenue that you have in your, you know, creative mind from all those times in theater, fashion, everything that has happened in your career that's come to this point. You have a creative vision, and I think it's really important that people trust you to see that through. But at the same time, I know that is not always the way that it goes. You gotta, you know, kind of tango a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's anything. That's a really great just life lesson in general. I think is learning how to like just work with people and talk to people. Like events is such a big people person industry, and marketing and branding is, especially when you work with vendors and clients and all of that. Like you just have to learn to listen to people, to hear them, and then almost tell them like it's gonna be okay. I've got you.
Yeah.
Like I promise you it's gonna be okay. I try to be a very, very positive person, because it's like the unknown of like, are people gonna show up? Are people gonna like, you know, have fun? And I'm like, trust me, it'll be fine.
Everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. It's very
everyone watching. Everything's gonna be okay.
It's gonna be okay.
Just go with the flow. Tell Usher to pull up. It'll help your events. On that front, so you know you've worked with some very influential people: Millie Bobby Brown, Dwayne Wade, Usher. How are you thinking about producing these events around these creators, celebrities, influencers, rather than just creating an event and telling them to show up?
Yeah. It's, you know, someone like, say, Millie Bobby Brown, she created the collection with Delsey luggage. So that's her influence on that. It's her Florence by Mills collection. So for her, that's like something she has stake in. So for that event, it's very much like the right color, the, you know, kind of feel of the brand. It's like cutesy, like her brand is very, you know, it's lavender. So you know, you're looking at that in a way of like the rest of her Florence by Mills and like how it connects. So that's very specific. Something like Dwayne Wade in that event, like he was the face of this fragrance, and this fragrance was a relaunch. It was Aramis, so that's an old school fragrance. It's been around for years, and it kind of was this relaunch of like trying to bring it back. And he's the face of it. And you know, Dwayne Wade is he's like a cool guy. He is in person too.
He's the man.
He's just very like cool, like just, you know, has a very like cool energy about him. So bringing that in, it was like the colors, the like vibes. We had a cocktail bar. That was like in Miami too. So different location. So a rooftop in Miami. And you know, they wanted to do this like scent activation. So like, how do you bring in that vibe of the talent plus, you know, that? And then my third example would be like, you have the OG, like Marc Anthony, Usher. Those guys, like everybody knows a song from them. So you're also embodying the brand of the artist.
There's some nostalgia there too.
Yeah. So like with Marc Anthony, as he was coming into the store, people were like singing his songs, like, you know, and it was like so cool. And like, our tickets we gave customers were like, you know, CD kind of like records. So you're kind of playing the fun line of like leaning into the talent, leaning into the brand, and like I think that's a really cool part of the job, is like, how can we connect all these things together and make it like fun for the customer, and then fun for, you know, the brand, that they feel like, oh, this is a good choice.
And again, the brand becoming synonymous with the ambassador that you guys choose to unite with. You got people, Marc Anthony pulls up, people are singing his songs, but in the background there's a, you know, huge Ralph Lauren sign. People are chanting for Ralph Lauren, you know. That's kind of like how it's working. But is there, you know, we were chatting about this before, I think this is so interesting. You're working across different types of brands with different audiences. Can you ever envision beforehand who these brands are going to go after in terms of celebrity endorsers, and what kind of goes in that process of finding the right fit?
I think sometimes you can. It's in, you know, it depends on the brand. Uh, like with fragrances, I was saying this, like, I feel like they always choose like either an actor or like artist, a musician, because I just think there's something about them that like feels like maybe it's the way you wake up and you listen to the song and then you put on your fragrance. It's like just part of your life. Um, I noticed a lot of other brands, like clothing brands, even luggage, is moving into that younger, like female kind of generation, either influencers or young actresses. So I think that's also interesting. It is. I think if you watch it, you like start to see what they're gonna choose. A lot of brands love their influencers, I will say. So
I mean,
that's one thing.
Like the influencers obviously synonymous with, you know, if you're some influencer that's doing like Get Ready With Me, it's some obviously goes well with some clothing brand or makeup or stuff like that. But at the same time, just across the board, you have creators like streamers. I don't know if you know these people like I Show Speed. These people walk down the street and are mobbed more than the president. The following is just absurd because it's so accessible when you're online now. We talked about it in the pandemic, which I'd love to learn more about that as well. But in the pandemic, you know, obviously there were a lot of industries that were put on hold, but there were also some that were created, influencers, TikTok creators that now are at the forefront of brands. I'm curious what you think about kind of that rise during that time, but then also how that affected, you know, your job and live events during the pandemic when no one was going out.
Well, I mean, gosh, the pandemic is like so interesting because we were talking about like before that, the influencer was a thing, but not like it is now. It wasn't really like, you know, I feel like people were creating content, blogging, YouTube maybe, but then you got the rise of TikTok, and TikTok really became like a thing during the pandemic. It's basically like with influencers and live streaming and all of that, you're offering a different look into what like selling even is, like with retail. So like people can now watch somebody put something on and buy it. So you don't even have to go into the store. You don't have to, you know, you can just click online and get it. Like, so it's so different. Like it offers this huge difference in compared to before. I think it was the experience of going to the store, shopping, doing that. So the pandemic shifted sales in general. And then with experience, it took a minute for people to get outside and want to go like outside of their house and actually do something. I think it took a few years. I will say we're still trying to figure out like what does that look like with customers? Like what is really going to bring them in store and to like come to these events? Also with the influencers and, you know, brands choosing influencers as a brand ambassador, what do those in-person events look like? Does the customer want to meet the influencer? Do they want to see them talk about something? Like, I think we're still everyone's kind of testing it out right now with those influencer events, like trying to see like what is the best route for this, like still newish. I mean, I think in an industry that's been around forever, what it looks like.
Definitely.
Because even like if we're like, oh, if we bring an influencer in, do people want to like meet this person? What's the age range of people that want to meet influencers? So from a like events and like producing perspective, I think we're still trying to like test out what customers really want in that. Do they want to go to events? Or they find like doom scrolling on their phones? Like, you know, so.
Yeah. Do you have a prediction for what the future looks like? Like where you kind of,
I have an idea.
What you think is most successful? I'd love to hear.
I think that people are going to like switch again. I think people are going to start wanting to go out more and do more things. So it was interesting. Like, I know when we were like teenagers, like the cool thing was to go to the mall and like just stay at the mall.
always at the mall. We were living at the mall.
Yes. So we had like in all hands, and one of our leadership was like talking, and they were saying like kids are doing that again. Like they're going out into the, you know, hanging out at the mall and doing stuff like that again. I say that because I think it's a good sign for at least our industry that people are coming out like doing stuff. They're finally getting back to like they want that interaction and they want people they want to basically be around other people. They want experiences. I think people just want to experience something. And I do think social media probably makes that harder because you're watching people go to Coachella and you're watching like all these great experiences. So it might set the standards higher than like, you know, it did before social media and stuff.
No, absolutely. A lot higher, for
yeah.
sure. But I see it going the same way as well. I think people are going out more. People like to, you know, interact with each other. These IRL experiences, that's where everything is moving. I'm very curious. So you talked earlier about content, you know, having an Instagrammable moment at these events. And then also, for example, at Coachella, you have these brands allocating millions of dollars towards this activation. It happens for a few days and then they leave and, you know, need something to show for it for stakeholders, clients, backers, etc. How are you guys thinking about the ROI of these events, post-event deliverables, and, you know, maximizing the impact after they happen?
Yeah. I feel like that's where obviously like technology comes into, like, if you have it. So for example, this is on a smaller scale of event we just did with a celebrity stylist, and we had a photo moment there where it was like a fun, like, get in front of it, do like some cute moves with the shoes and like some branded, like, you know, basketball. It was like really great, but you could kind of track like at least how many people were taking those photos and like, you know, if that person reposted it or like posted the photo. So I think that's good. And you know, the photos, it had like branding on the top. So even if they reposted it, like, of course, you know, it had the branding. I think that's a win. Really, like, what brands are looking for these events are just promotion. I think they understand that they may not make it back in sales. You know,
they might not be able to track all of that as well. I mean, it's so hard to track when you have, at Coachella, you have thousands of people coming in, a lot of which have, you know, very large following. A lot of people who attend an event like Coachella or these large corporate cultural events, the Super Bowl, are influencers themselves, run businesses, and they come in and capture content, or they, you know, start to have a good relationship with the brand and then start to work with them, you know, on their own personal, you know, pursuits. It's hard. It's so hard to track this, it seems.
It is. And I feel like that's why people do lean into influencers as well, because it's like easier to at least, like, if I pay this person to post and talk about this, then I can track their engagement, you know, maybe how many clicks went through their like to know it, whatever, things like that. So I think that's where the lean into influencers is really like important to brands at this moment, because it is hard to track. Yeah, you're just kind of like crossing your fingers, and maybe like press too if you get media and stuff. So definitely. Yeah, but
so reactive marketing I want to talk about. So I'm a big Drake guy. This is just top of mind. That happened this week. I don't know if you saw that, but Drake's new album Iceman coming out. Drake actually asked us to promote this, so please go May 15th, I think it is. Go listen to Iceman. But this, you know, album release date announcement happened. This huge installation with a bunch of blocks of ice in downtown Toronto with the date hidden somewhere inside. But then within hours, you have all these brands responding to it. You have like Coors having their own spin-off with these Coors cases. Talk to me about that, and you know, on the note of reactive marketing, how do you know when there's something that you should react to versus something that you should maybe hold off?
Yeah. Gosh, I think it's interesting because you have to be quick, because something like that will only last like sometimes a few days, if you're lucky a few weeks. So you do have to be very fast with it. In retail, we've done this a few times, like with Macy's. Like if there was this athlete that was like wearing a coat that we sell, and he like said it, he was like, "This is my coat, I bought it at Macy's," like during a press thing after a game. And like we were like, go, you have to like share him. I probably like, I'm sure, reach out to him, like, do you want to come do a social, like a moment for us? So you have to be quick. I do think it's probably a special talent to know if like things, you know, are gonna work or not, or you just honestly like take the step, put the money towards it, and hope that you get something out of it. That's probably most of marketing, to be honest. Like in reality, of course, there's so much strategy that comes out of it, but it's a lot of just like, you're like, I think this will work based on like our expertise and knowledge. And
you got to be decisive too. You got to, you know, make a choice, make it the right choice, and go with it for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I think like with that, such a cool moment to like take that and even do something with it. Like, you could connect ice to anything, especially that. Like, I think Drake made it easy. Thank you, Drake, for us to take that.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Take that and like, you know, turn it into something else. We could have like had a marketed our diamonds or something.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so.
Well, you know, if you working with celebrities on these activations, if you ever work with Drake, I have some good ideas, so I can come just to like, I just really want to make sure the activation goes well. I want to help you out, so feel free to send over an invite.
Say hey to Drake.
But I'm really interested to having kind of an artistic background and those arts roots, how that has translated to planning events, how, if you think that's, you know, I'm sure it gives you an edge in terms of your creative vision. I'd love to know a little bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned this before with the nonprofits and like children and art is so important because it literally gives you so many skills that I think you bring into adulthood. It makes you such a well-rounded person. I believe that at least every child should take like an intro to drama class. Because you might not be into the theater or whatever, but you should get a chance to get on a stage and have to speak in front of others. There's so much to learn from that. It brings you confidence, how to be vulnerable, especially if you're sharing your own art, all of that. And I think all of that transfers into all the things you do as an adult. Like, my job is so much like improv, thinking on my feet. I have to speak in front of others all the time. I have to use my my projection. So use my voice because I'm talking to a bunch of people that are in a huge room and they have to listen to me. So like being, a boss in front of others, it brings so much of what I learned, like doing theater and all of that, like confidence. Like when you mess up on stage, even as a musician, you have to still be like, you can't show it, because you're performing. And in events, how many times has something bad happened where we're like, oh my God, like, you're freaking out inside, but you don't want to show it.
I mean, producers are putting out fires left and right at these activations. They might not be showing it, but.
Yeah. And you want to be like, you don't want your client to know that things are going on. So you have to be very like, yay, like, woohoo. And then in the back, like, something's not working.
Yeah.
So there's so much connection to it. I feel like it's a big passion of mine, and especially in my career, I'd love to do more of it. Just get back to like making sure kids have like, they're able to do arts, whatever it is, performance, visual, anything. It's so important.
I love that. Yeah, I think arts, playing sports when you're young, having an outlet to collaborate with others, learn, perseverance, self-expression, all these things really helps you when you're older. But I think that arts to, brand side and producer and events is a really interesting connection because, you have the creative aspect.
Yeah.
You are putting yourself out there. You have to just kind of go for it. As you said, you might not 100% know the ROI or be able to, track every single thing that you do, but you have to be decisive. So I think that's really refreshing. That's awesome.
Yeah. And you get like, also I think same with sports actually, like you have a coach or you have someone giving you feedback and you learn how to take that. And I think that's so important for career in general because you should always be open to learning and growing. And that's something you learn when you do anything like that. And you can't be like sad if someone tells you something kind of like, or, you can be self-reflective. And I think that's really important. And it comes all back to the things you do, like sports and arts.
No, absolutely. All right. Hot take. Experiential marketing. Any stance that you think other producers, people in the industry would push back on that you've been feeling lately?
Take vacation.
Putting you on the spot here.
Take vacation.
I don't know if that's a hot take.
I know, but I don't know. Some people they say they're gonna take vacation. They say they're gonna take a break because what is not pretty is feeling burnt out. I've met some like major producers that are like so grumpy and like just not producing their best work because they're not taking a break. This may not seem like a hot take, but it is. Because I feel like people say they're gonna do it, and in New York we live in this like world that's like go go go.
Yeah.
Like take a break and come back. That's like my biggest thing, because I just see people burnt out. It's easy to get burnt out in events, like, and it's like could be a week. Like, it doesn't have to be like a break from the industry, but like you're not producing good work if you're tired and your mental health isn't like great. So I'm all about that.
I love that.
Yeah.
No, I think there's a lot of people who are watching that could probably take that advice, because I go to these events and, you know, people, as like I was saying, Heineken House, people pour their lives into these events, but then they're also working at 4 of those at a time, and it's a lot to do. It's very overwhelming, it seems.
Events never, because there's always going to be an event, and I think that's the problem, and you want to make sure you're there for it and you're doing it, but what you produce is like going to matter in the end, I think. So it's easy just to do it. Like, how many of you took a vacation after Coachella?
They probably thought Coachella was the semi-vacation, but, you know, you're working the whole time.
Yeah.
People are
exhausting.
going in and out of these brand activations 24/7.
Exhausting. Yeah.
No, that's great. So a lot of these activations are planned by agencies collaborating with the brand. You are sitting at a very interesting seat because you are in-house in terms of Macy's, but working with brands that live underneath. What's that dynamic like? You think there's more synchronicity and community being in-house, but then you also get that opportunity to work across different brands, obviously.
Yeah. I think in our perspective, because like Macy's, it's like I bringing back the destination thing, because I think it is a destination, and these brands choose us for a reason. So if they're doing a agency over us, I think you're missing that like Macy's touch. Like the touch of like, I work for the company, I know what we want on our side. I can just do those things really easily. Like, I can be like, okay, you guys work on this, I'm just going to make sure our marketing is good, I'm going to make sure our logo's correct and all these things. So it's almost just like an easy, you know, like thing I can do while we're doing everything else. Where if you did an agency where an agency is planning for both sides, it's just that extra work, and maybe doesn't feel like as at home. So for our perspective, I think it works really well. I also know the ins and outs. Like a store like, you know, these events are very interesting because they're held in the store. So a store like Herald Square is huge, and the operations, the logistics, everything that happens in that store is like so deep and intertwined, and like all the stakeholders there, I feel like if you didn't have someone like in-house, it would just be like, you would just miss things. So it's important, like that freaking Broadway Plaza that's right in front of Macy's, the permits, the things that happen, like it's just a lot.
So much to navigate, but yeah, having that close relationship and touch is definitely important. So what was it? So, you know, you work with celebrities, influencers, but as we were chatting about before, you're a content creator yourself on behalf of Macy's.
Yes.
I'm a little bit starstruck right now. I've been looking at the all the content, and so it's really surreal to see it in person. Funny. But I'm wondering, you know, creating content from the creator side and then working with them, how has that allowed you to, you know, resonate with them, step into their shoes, and kind of influence the way you plan events around content creators? Yeah.
It's funny because, like, you know, content creation, it's people that are very passionate about, like, what they're doing. So it's these girls that are passionate about, you know, fashion, beauty. They have a niche. So it could be, you know, plus size. It could be mid-size girls. Like, I think meeting them and, like, talking to them and why they do what they do. And then when you plan events around it, the more passionate they are about a brand, and like content creators are about a brand, the more I think they really believe it. So actually we just did, and this is our Macy's Style Crew team. That's really awesome.
Shout out.
They did a Mother's Day influencer trip for a bunch of mothers. because we're doing our Macy's flower show right now. So I don't know if you get a chance to go to Herald Square and see the flower show. It's beautiful. But they brought them in. They put them in this amazing hotel. They gifted them, had brand dinners every night, and like really treated them well. So then these girls are going to go back and be like, Macy's is like, they believe what they're saying. And I think that's important when you think about like content creation and influencing. Because how many times, I mean, even if you're not, you've received something, like working in the industry, you get free stuff all the time. And you're like, kind of have to be like, yeah, it was good. Like, you really didn't like love it. You don't want to be that brand.
Yeah. No,
So
authenticity is super important.
yes.
And it definitely shines through with Macy's.
Yeah.
Especially not just, you know, through all the different verticals of everyone under that portfolio. Like, you know, it's almost like you have Calvin Klein, Ralph Lauren, all these brands that are, you know, having campaigns that strive for authenticity, but then Macy's doing it kind of ties them all together.
Yeah, and like they come to us and they say, hey, we want to do this campaign on your social media. You know, that's the other thing about, like, I think interesting about Macy's and big retail is like you have like a Ralph Lauren coming in and asking to do a spring campaign through our socials or on our website. So connecting all those dots, you know, so like the co-branding is good. And like the Macy's shopper is the Calvin Klein shopper, is the Ralph Lauren shopper, is that shopper.
Who are you looking at right now, if anyone in the industry, who's crushing it on the experiential side?
Ooh, good question. Ooh, that one. I mean,
It might just be it might be Macy's.
I
Macy's
know. I mean, I'm like, I think I try to go to stuff and see things. I'm not sure anyone's, and if you are, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting anyone, but I don't know if anyone's doing like in-house celebrity events like we are really at the moment. I try to keep in touch. Like, of course, if you have things connected like to brands, but like big retail or even like on the beauty spectrum, they're not really bringing in celebrities that are doing meet and greets and panels in store.
It's more that digital ads.
Yeah, or maybe it's like, I think you have a lot of influencer events, you have a lot of press events, you have stuff like that, but the customer isn't getting that experience. And I think for us, like, we want the customer to get that experience. But I'm loving on a beauty, like just celebrity partnerships on a beauty perspective. I feel like Sephora always has really great like celebs that come in for their brands. And I'm always like, how'd that person we have to get that person here. What are they doing? So on a brand perspective, they're doing great. But I feel like it's an exciting time for events just in general.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
I feel like now more than ever, brands are moving away from, you know, these banner ads, digital side to IRL. How do you feel about an industry shift on the brand side where people are coming over to where, you know, you've been for the last few years?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's positive because I feel like the more people that understand events and like have like the structure, it's good. Just means we have to be like the front runners of what we're doing. You know, I think it's exciting to be an expert, like, you know, becoming an expert in the industry, and then you just lead and find new ways to like still be ahead of it.
Any plans you can talk to us about for LA 28, the Ralph Lauren opening ceremonies, Tom Cruise fitted up in a Ralph Lauren jacket?
There's some conversations. There was a few, like, you know, Ralph Lauren is definitely preparing for 28. I think it'll be pretty cool. So I know you can, if you can't get the tickets, be in LA for the Olympics in 28 for sure. She's keeping it
on the DL, but we'll find out soon enough.
Yeah. There's gonna be a lot of events. Talk about eventing. That'll be
Any cultural, you know, I was talking about any cultural moment, and now for me working kind of on the brand side as well as Swish moves more towards that vertical. I go to an event like Coachella, like the Super Bowl, and I can't see it the same. You're looking at the brands on the business side, so I definitely resonate with you there.
Yeah.
So this is the Obsessed podcast, obsessed with IRL, talking about experiential marketing. We also have, you know, obsessed on the music side. Cara, I'm curious what you're obsessed with right now. Personally, business-wise, any of that?
I'm obsessed. I would say I'm getting back to like my obsession with music, like live music, like getting back. I think this is career and person. Like, I want to just be in more and be at more things.
Mm.
Like we live in such a big city for music, for like even if you're just walking to a bar and it's like a cover band or like a new band, I feel like I haven't done that for a while. I just want like exciting creative energy. So I would say just obsessed with like getting to new things, new places. I would love to get more into the event scene in New York in general. So on a like just people putting on cool activations. So that's like my goal, and that's what I'm like really focusing on this, I feel like, this year. But definitely more music.
I love it.
Like I just want to walk into a place and be like, who is that playing? And then it's like your new favorite artist.
You can't beat live music, you know?
Yeah.
And we were talking about it before, how, you know, music and brands are and experiential are synonymous with each other. A lot of these events have performers there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an interesting, you know, kind of on the same side as brand ambassadors, a way to connect with someone, even if it's not some huge star. It's just, you know, setting the vibe, curating this experience where people enjoyed themselves but left, you know, with kind of that association of their experience with the brand. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, it's all about the, like, I'm sure we all can think of something that we went to and we're like, wow, this is such like, you think about like the brand before you think about the like experience. Like it just all tied really well together. And I love that. I think that's like really exciting. And just things to be excited about. Like it's nice to be excited. I want people to be excited about like being out and about
100%.
you know, real life.
Yeah.
So yeah.
As we wrap up here, not to put you on the spot, but like for all the producers, experiential folks watching, any kind of advice in terms of like you've been crushing it, as we've discussed, curating these events for Macy's, for the brands underneath, brand ambassadors being intertwined. Any advice on how to use kind of these in-person experiential events to help people's brand not only grow but get more integrated into culture?
Yeah, I think it's just keep doing them. Keep like, even if it's small, it's getting your name out there. It's a way to, you know, see what your customer is. Like I think to see people come in person to something is to seeing like, it gives you an idea of that customer. Also, it's just like a great way to get your brand out there. Anything, even on a small level, bringing in a DJ, bringing in like, you know, one of those artists that does like drawings of people.
Yeah.
Like it's getting
the caricatures.
Exactly. It's like, and like, yeah, like fashion sketches, whatever, like things like that. But I feel like it's always just good to get your brand out there. I wish more brands, I think they are catching on, but I really think it's I'm seeing a lot of like in our ROIs, I'm seeing a lot of like positivity coming through of what that's bringing to brands. The customer wants that. They want the experience. They want to do something. Especially in New York City, we live in like this city with so much going on, but yet people just want to do more.
And it's so much going on the business side and socially, and I think experiential marketing is a way to fuse both of those, which is very cool.
Yeah, and there's like just putting in at least one event a year in your strategy, like on the marketing side, and deciding like this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna put a little bit of budget into this, see what it brings us, and like I
love it. Cara, this has been awesome.
Yeah.
Really appreciate your time recapping, you know, IRL events. Brands are investing in IRL, and I don't think that's gonna stop. Cara doesn't think that's gonna stop, so I'm trusting her because she knows more than I do. Coachella, Usher. She's best friends with Usher, guys.
Yeah, me and Usher. And you, Drake, soon.
Yeah. It's only a matter of time. We got to do brand pop up. I'm sure Usher has his own. Oh well, he was brand. I'm sure he's working with whatever brand
They're always
that was.
doing
But
something.
everyone brands are always going after these celebrity endorsers, but they all have their own thing going on. Brands are running the world. That's why we're here. That's why we're having this conversation.
Yeah, I think like talent, brands, it's all exciting. Just keep an eye out, I think, for stuff happening at Macy's and stuff happening in the city. Like you never know what's going on, and I think there's going to be some really cool opportunity to check it out and find different ways to get into it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Guys, Macy's events coming soon to you. Cara planned them. She grinded to put on these experiences, so make sure you go check them out.
Yeah.
And yeah, lovely having you. Thank you guys for tuning in to Obsessed, and we'll see you on episode 3.
All right.